I was always thinking I'd like to see all my movies, go over them all and see in the order that I made them, and just sort of just see everything that I've done one last time in my life. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but I used to think I'd like to do it.
Film acting. Robert De Niro. The art of disappearing in plain sight. Robert De Niro is the guy your acting teachers bring up when they say, commit more. You know the stories.
I was so good that whenever I bet, I could change the odds for every bookmaker in the country.
Gaining 60 pounds for Raging Bull, driving a New York cab for Taxi Driver, living in Sicily for The Godfather Part II. But underneath the legends is something more useful for you.
Mix in some strikes. What are you doing? You're making it too hard on him.
A very specific way of preparing, watching, and then almost vanishing into a role.
He says it in the opening monologue, what his life is.
He doesn't grab you with big speeches about his feelings. He gets under your skin by behaving so precisely that you stop thinking Robert De Niro and start thinking, that guy I knew once who scared me. Let's walk through how he actually does it and what you can steal for your own work. All right, first acting lesson coming up, early days, building the base. Robert De Niro was born in New York City in 1943 to two artists who later divorced. He grew up in Manhattan neighborhoods like Greenwich Village and Little Italy, surrounded by working-class Italian Americans, street life, and the sense that the city itself was a character. He dropped out of high school to act, studied at Stella Adler's conservatory, and at the actor studio with Lee Strasberg, taking in different flavors of the method. One teacher emphasized imagination and circumstances, another emphasized emotional memory. He absorbed both, then quietly built his own version. What mattered most to him wasn't showing emotion, it was getting the behavior right. How people from a specific place talk, move, eat, sit, flirt, threaten. He said many times he's not a theory guy, he's a preparation guy. Here's your first acting lesson. Don't stop at I feel it. De Niro builds from the outside in, environment, culture, habits, and then feeling. If the behavior is specific, the emotions don't have to be pushed, they show up on their own. Ready for another lesson? The Godfather Part II. Research, dialect, and quiet power.
Put the movie on screen and just videotape the Brando scenes. So I used that as, my reference when I was preparing.
Young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part II could have just been young Brando. Instead, De Niro built a completely separate human being who just happens to grow into Brando's Vito. He studied Sicilian dialect, lived in Sicily for a period, watched how older men from that culture sat in cafes, handled food, and held their bodies when they didn't want to show emotion. When you watch his scenes in Italy, the way he listens is as important as anything he says. He's not playing future mafia boss. He's playing a poor immigrant who learns to watch the room before he moves. Even when he becomes powerful, he doesn't do loud gangster acting. He barely raises his voice. The authority is in stillness, in how long he's willing to pause before he answers, in how gently he speaks when he's about to do something ruthless. Acting lesson number 2. When you research, don't just read facts. Watch people. How do they sit when they're tired? How do they celebrate? How do they hide anger? De Niro's Vito isn't iconic because he acts like Brando. He's iconic because the behavior belongs to a very particular man from a very particular place. Okay, next one. This is a big one. Taxi Driver, turning preparation into madness.
It's interesting because the alienation, I don't know what the attraction is for people these days, but I think we all identified in some way the alienation of Travis' character.
Taxi Driver is where De Niro goes from great actor to what is this guy doing? To play Travis Bickle, he got a New York taxi driver's license and actually drove cabs, taking real fares around the city. He kept odd hours, lived the sleep deprivation, and soaked up the loneliness of that job. Then, on set with Martin Scorsese, he was given freedom to improvise inside that preparation. The famous "You talking to me?" scene, not in the script.
You talking to me?
Scorsese has confirmed De Niro was improvising, talking to himself in the mirror, exploring what this lonely, delusional man would say if he fantasized about being tough. That one moment became a defining line of his career. But here's the subtle part. Travis doesn't think he's crazy. De Niro doesn't play him as a cackling villain. He plays the logic of a man who thinks the world is filthy and believes he's cleaning it up. The horror comes from how rational he feels to himself. Acting lesson number 3. Preparation gives you credibility. Improvisation gives you discovery. De Niro did the work, driving, observing, building Travis's world, and then let himself play inside that. If you want to improvise like that, do the prep first so your impulses actually belong to the character. Want another one? Let's go. Raging Bull, destroying and rebuilding the body.
Marty was not sure, and I couldn't see anybody else but him doing it.
Raging Bull might be the purest example of De Niro's commitment. To play boxer Jake LaMotta, he trained seriously in the ring. Not just movie boxing, but real sessions with LaMotta himself. He learned the footwork, the weight transfer, the stamina. When you watch the fight scenes, it doesn't look like an actor faking it. It looks like a fighter whose style is wild, self-punishing, and angry at the world. Then, after filming the boxing sequences, he stopped training, went to Europe, and reportedly gained around 60 pounds for the older LaMotta scenes. His walk changes, his breathing changes, his face thickens. He becomes a man who used to be dangerous and now has nothing left but stories and regret. But notice something. Underneath all that physical transformation, the core behavior doesn't change. The older Jake is still self-sabotaging, still picking fights, still incapable of being gentle with anyone, including himself. The body is different, the soul is the same. Acting lesson number 4. Physical transformation is useless if the inner life doesn't match. Gaining or losing weight, changing your hair, that's surface. What matters is whether the way you move, breathe, and react tells the same story as your makeup. De Niro's bodywork always ties back to the character's psychology. Last stretch, one more acting lesson coming. The King of Comedy, Goodfellas, and Growing Quieter.
Can't take over the show for 6 weeks. I can't even take over my own life for 6 weeks.
De Niro isn't just rage and violence. In The King of Comedy, he plays Rupert Pupkin, a delusional, awkward, aspiring comedian. It's one of his strangest, most uncomfortable performances. Watch how he uses small social missteps instead of big, crazy acting. Laughing slightly too long, standing a little too close, not hearing no when it's said politely. The danger in Rupert isn't that he's loud, it's that he's blind to how he comes off. That's scarier, because you've met people like that.
I don't know if the character was based on was alive. I met his daughter once, and I was going to talk to her again, but I don't know. She didn't want to. Maybe I forget what happened.
In Goodfellas, as Jimmy Conway, he's not the lead, but he owns every frame he's in. He rarely raises his voice. When he's deciding whether to have someone killed, he does it almost completely without words. Just a cigarette, a stare across a bar, a tiny nod. As he's gotten older, in films like The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon, he's become even more minimal. The preparation is still there, but the acting is almost invisible. He lets a single look carry entire scenes. Guilt, denial, exhaustion, all sitting just behind the eyes. Final acting lesson. You don't have to shout to be dangerous. De Niro's later career is a clinic in underplaying. He does all the work up front, research, physical choices, backstory, and then trust that a small adjustment will register on camera. As you get better, you can start taking things away and letting the audience do more of the work. You don't have to shout to be dangerous. So what do you steal from De Niro? Let's wrap this up like you're about to go back to your own script. Here's what you can actually take from Robert De Niro. Use preparation as your foundation. Learn the place, the job, the body of the character before you worry about moments. Research people, not just facts. Watch how real humans in that world talk, sit, joke, threaten, or stay silent. Let improvisation happen on top of serious prep, not instead of it. The "you talking to me" kind of thing only works when it's rooted in a fully built character. If you change your body, change your behavior with it. Don't just look different, move different, breathe different, react different. And finally, trust that you don't need to show the acting. Do the work, then get out of your own way. Keep it smaller than you think, and let the camera come to you. De Niro's gift isn't that he's mysterious. It's that he works like a maniac privately, then shows up and behaves like a person who might actually exist. You can do that too. Stop trying to look like you're acting. Start trying to live like the character did. Long before the director says, action.